Okay. All right. Thank you, Clerk's Department. All right, members of council and members of the public, we're just returning from our in-camera session. Council met right until about 5:15, 5:20, and we had a quick snack. And now we're back at the table here ready to go. So we're a few moments behind 5:30. Nevertheless, welcome to our council meeting on Monday, July the 24th, 2023. And as I said, this is one of our regular council meetings. So I'd like to begin our meeting by recognizing the First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples of Canada as traditional stewards and caretakers of the land. And we acknowledge that Clearview Township is located within the boundaries of Treaty 18, the traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, the Haudenosaunee, the Tsuut'ina, the Wendat, and is the home of many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people as part of the intricate nationhood that reaches across Turtle Island. At this time of truth and reconciliation, we welcome the opportunity to work together towards new understandings and new relationships, and we ask the Creator for guidance in all that we do. And the land acknowledgement is always said voluntarily by myself, and I'm very proud to say it as the Mayor of the Township of Clearview. Okay, members of council, if we refer to our agenda, item number 1 was our closed session. We did already complete that, so our agenda takes us to item number 2, which is the approval of the agenda. So I'll ask for the recommendation, and then I'll look for a mover and seconder. Recommendation be it resolved that council of the Township of Clearview hereby approve the agenda dated July 24th, 2023 as presented. Can I have a mover and seconder on that motion? Deneen and Beelan, thank you very much for that. Any questions on the agenda? Seeing none, I'll call the motion. All those in favor? That carries. Thank you. Disclosure of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof. Members of council, you have any disclosures at this time? And I see none. So if anything comes up during the meeting, please bring it forward. We'll deal with it right away. All right, council, we're going to go right to our public participation period, which is item number 4. The text reads as follows. Be advised that the comments and views expressed under the public participation period are not the views of the Township of Clearview, council, or the administration. Each public participation is limited to 15 minutes, and each person is limited to 5 minutes. Questions and comments are to be directed to the mayor, and questions shall not refer to personnel matters, litigation, or potential litigation, or planning matters that have already had a public meeting or any item considered confidential. And as always, please remember to share the time with your fellow citizens. Right now, the podium is available. Are there anyone from the public who wants to speak at public participation period? Please come forward, ma'am. No, you come right over here to the podium, and Krista will show you that where you get to stand, and it's nice to have you join us. I see you wore your raincoat. Is it raining outside?
It was when we left home.
Yeah, terrible. All right. So just state your name for the record.
I'm Brenda Switzer.
Hello, Brenda.
Hi. I live on the southeast corner of County Road 9 and Centerline Road.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, it's a humdinger lately. I understand you're talking about pricing out rumble strips. And in my concern is I'm not for them. It causes a lot of noise. I really don't think that it's going to slow anybody down. They're going to go straight through the way they've been doing. Innocent people are getting hurt on that corner. But I do agree something has to be done. Now, I'd like to suggest that we go with speed bumps and reducing the speed to 60. And flashing lights on the corner. But so many accidents have happened there lately, and I welcome any one of you to come down to my corner and have a look at what's happening there. The amount of vehicles that are traveling that road now. I'm interested to know, has there ever been a count down at our corner of how many vehicles there really is?
That question, yes, can be answered. Our Public Works Department do regularly do vehicle counts on roads all over our township.
Okay.
That specific one, I'm unaware of when it was done, like how recently it was done, but I know there was some type of data. Perhaps if I can, is Mr. Perot on board? Dan is our Public Works.
Oh, right.
Let me just see. Hello, there's Dan. Hi, Dan.
Good evening, Your Worship.
Hi, can you give us a bit of an update? Do you have any traffic count data, or do you have a recent study on Centerline Road at that intersection as far as the actual volume of traffic?
Yeah, Your Worship, our counts haven't been done yet this year.
Okay.
They were done the previous 3 years that I've been around. So We haven't done those yet. I have to check with the county and see what they've done for as far as counts on County Road 9 itself. I do know, I want to say about a month ago now, that they did an actual count of the intersection and did some camera surveillance. They were that the counts were done on a Thursday and a Saturday early morning, which doesn't really match up with when a lot of these incidents are happening. So I'm going to be in conversation with the county to see if there's something else they could do on a Friday evening and a Sunday evening type count. So there are things that we're working on, that we are aware of the magnitude of that intersection. So we will be working towards getting more information at that intersection.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Pro. Additionally to that, I'll just supplement the question from the resident, but would we have traffic count data on Centerline Road generally from County Road 9 to Highway 26? So we would be able to tell sort of the volume of traffic that would be happening on the whole road, not specifically at the intersection. Is that correct?
That is correct, Your Worship. We do counts usually in segments or sections of the road.
Sections, right.
So our count would be somewhere between the second concession and the 9th on the County Road 9 on the south end, and then I believe our next section is between County Road 9 and I think concession 7 north. So that sort of gives you the segment of the different locations that we do count on.
Yeah. The reason I supplemented that question is that I think that everyone agrees that the traffic volumes have increased on that road for sure. So
Definitely. I've lived there 50 years coming this November. So
wow.
I've seen a lot of things happening, but now this is just no control whatsoever, whether they're listening to cell phones, just plain not paying attention, want to be the first guy to get across the road. And it's turning out that somebody's going to lose their life.
Yeah.
I have a lot of marks in my front yard. I had one accident come straight from the corner across my yard. Marty knows my yard. Robert knows my yard. Crossed the laneway and on the inside of our hedge towards our house and hit a tree there. Now that guy had to have been really traveling. My daughter was in the front yard 20 minutes before that. She could have easily been hit and killed. I have grandchildren that are playing in there all the time. But, rumble strips, to me, they're so noisy. We enjoy our yards, try to keep them up, presentable and what have you. I enjoy sitting out there. To me, it's like penalizing the taxpayers around our area to have to put up with more noise other than the blowing horns, the screeching tires, the crashes.
Yeah.
Anyway.
All right.
I thank you for listening to me.
Thank you. Just to be clear, the motion that's in the agenda tonight will not be debated tonight. It'll be presented at our next council meeting, as is our procedure. So by publishing it on the agenda, it gives the opportunity for the public to see where the councillor who's put it forward has an idea going. And that's a transparency thing that we have done since we started this council. So,
right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comment. Other members of the public who wish to come forward? Hello.
Good evening.
There's a face I recognize.
So after 30 years of studying transportation on the road in Canada here, most people, I travel through that intersection 4 times a day. The things I've seen in the last 3 years, I have not seen in the last 30 years leading up to it. But a couple things coincided. The completion of the construction of the southern end of Centerline Road. And if you park yourself in Wasaga Beach and you put on your phone, I would like to go anywhere west of Toronto, it will route you right down Centerline Road to 21 and then to another intersection that pretty much sucks in our township. The intersection of Airport Road and 21 right at the bottom of a big divot. The sight lines at that intersection are absolutely horrible Friday and Saturday coming from the south. And on Sunday, they just don't care. I've watched cars go around other cars that have stopped. So I do not believe your rumble strip plan will work. I believe there's only two choices. Either county puts in a 4-way stop sign, which would then reduce the collisions to a 20 km/h after stopping at a stop sign. Therefore, no one dies, or deter people from using Centerline Road as a runway back to the city or up from the city, and put a stop sign at every intersection between 26 and County Road 9 and deter that. And that way, again, you impact the electronic world by changing the amount of time it takes to get back to the city, and Google and Apple Maps and whatever other electronic device that we'll use will reroute them back to Airport Road to go back to the city. I do not believe that the problem of rumble strips or the solution of rumble strips will slow the people down. That's not where people are traveling. They're trying to cross an 80 km/h road of locals who travel it several times a day, who are quite comfortable driving 80 km/h there. So if they're going to pull out in front of us, chances are we're the ones that are going to die, or someone's going to die, right? So either we slow the intersection down and control it, or we deter people from using Centerline Road. And I believe that should be the beginning of your study for a township. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chuck. I appreciate your comment. Again, the rumble strip question is being brought up at our next council meeting, but we certainly appreciate this input tonight. Thank you very much. Hello.
Hey, I'm Josh. I know I'm gonna
Josh, how are you?
Strips again. I'm good, thank you. But I'm here, so I'm gonna talk about it. I also live at the corner of Centerline and County Road 9. Been there for about a year and a half, and there's obviously a ton of accidents that happen there. I go out there every single time. I've got medical gloves. Both my wife and I are first responders, so we're always out there helping out with the accidents. And every single time I'm talking to the people and asking them what's the common issues, where are they coming from, where are you going? And it's the same thing that has been mentioned. It's become a runway going down north and south, and everyone's taking it. If we want to talk about putting our money best where it's going to work, rumble strips aren't going to do anything. I see the speed people are traveling. I'm always out there. On the weekends, I keep medical gloves in my pocket because I know accidents happen. That's how bad it is at my place now. So we want to talk about slowing people down. Let's put speed bumps there, or speed tables. It's going to slow them down significantly. They're going to realize it's a bad accident and actually pay attention. We need the stop signs. You guys have made the stop signs bigger. You've installed street lights. Those work. The nighttime accidents have pretty much stopped since you guys did that. It made a big difference, and I appreciate it. But we need to actually try to focus on the daytime, and it's the distracted drivers, the cars full of people driving, and the music blaring. Everyone's oblivious, and everybody's in a rush nowadays to get to where they're going. I personally think the sight lines are okay. We make an honest effort at our corners to try and keep the grass trimmed and the trees trimmed so that people can actually see. But it's bad drivers. It's always going to happen. We can't seem to fix that issue, but the most we can do is to try to slow people down, and effectively those speed tables are going to be the best way to slow people down. And again, I also enjoy my yard. I pay good money for my house and tax dollars to you guys. Last thing I want to sit in my backyard after decompressing after a shift is to sit there and listen to cars like a highway going over rumble strips. So thank you for your guys' time.
Thanks very much, Josh. Appreciate the comment and your input. And I also appreciated council got your email. So thank you for sending that in. Are there others who would like to speak in public participation period about any topic? Oh, here we go. Come right forward. Come on. I see you're also carrying a raincoat.
Yeah, it was raining.
Okay.
My name is Arlene Fuller,
Hello.
and I live on the southeast corner of County Road 9 and 3-4 Side Road. And unfortunately, we've seen an increase in accidents over the last 3 years. In fact, there was a very bad one, about a week ago? So we have a lovely front porch. Beside us is a farmhouse. My in-laws have a nice front porch. And the last thing we want to hear is the noise from the rumble strips, because we hear the traffic. Our houses are very close to County Road 9. And we don't want to hear that noise as well. And I agree with everything that the previous presenters have said today about speed bumps, flashing lights.
Yep.
We had an issue, and it's gotten better. People seem to miss turning onto 3-4 Side Road. So the first driveway they're going to turn into is our driveway. So we had the county put up signs alerting them that 3-4 Side Road was coming up. Because I'd be rich by now if I had $1 for every car that turned around.
Fair enough.
But I just wanted to put my 2 cents into, because we
Right.
do enjoy sitting at the front and sitting at the back of our house that is close to the road. And we will hear those rumble strips if they get put in.
All right. Well, thank you very much for your input. Please, hopefully you get to enjoy your porch. Right on. Is there someone else? I think, yes. Hi, come forward. Nice to see you.
Hi, my name's JC. I'm here with my partner, Adam, and we also live at the corner of County Road 9 and Centerline. We own the field on the corner, and our driveway is about 100 meters from the corner. So our driveway would be right about the starting point of the rumble strips heading towards County Road 9. And not only do we not want to listen to the sound of them, but we don't believe that they would be any sort of deterrent for the accidents that are continually happening. Just this past Sunday, we were actually able to catch the accident on camera, and we don't have any sort of special setup. We were just sitting out there around dinner time on Sunday when the accidents tend to happen, and we're able to catch it on film. The accident that happened, there was 2 vehicles stopped at the stop sign. So everyone was stopped. They knew the stop sign was there. 2 vehicles saw an opportunity to cross County Road 9 to continue on to Centerline Road heading south, and were able to cross without interfering on the traffic heading eastbound on County Road 9. However, the 3rd vehicle, not sure if they were just not paying attention, texting, looking down, paying attention to all of the passengers in their vehicle, but they gunned it also. And what's I think worse than the sound of rumble strips is the constant crash sounds. If you're eating dinner, trying to enjoy your country home where there is really no noise, it's a really unmistakable sound listening to high impact crashes every single weekend. There was on Saturday a very heavy police presence on Centerline Road. We happened to see them in a span of about 3 to 4 hours. They passed our place, crossing County Road 9 and going back. I don't know how far they were going, but they went back and forth by our house at least 4 times that we were aware of in the later afternoon and evening. And that evening there was no accidents. So we honestly believe that it would be the duty of OPP to spend some more time on these roads where these accidents are happening, because the only thing that is going to deter the types of drivers on Centerline that we're seeing, like just last week, we saw a Jeep full of people, assumably coming from Wasaga Beach, where there was an individual actually laying on the roof of the Jeep while their friends were videotaping, and narrowly escaped what would have been a very, very horrible accident when they blew the stop sign. So not only is it just dangerous driving with speeds, but people doing these kind of things that nobody should be doing in any kind of a vehicle anywhere, and especially so often that it's happening on our roads. So we would honestly love to see the speed reduced around our corner, whether it be Centerline approaching County Road 9, or seeing if the county would slow down the intersection on the County Road 9 there, as well as a much higher police presence in the area. Thank you.
Thank you, JC. Can I just ensure or ask that you've, of course, contacted the OPP about your video? All right. I just wanted to be assured, since you're speaking about it here in a public forum, that you would make sure that that would be the case. Thank you. Is there any other members of the public who have any questions for the public participation period, or any comments they'd like to bring forward at this time? All right. Before I close, I want to acknowledge that we will be looking at this notice of motion that has been presented on our agenda at our next council meeting. And at our next council meeting, it's a regular council meeting. The same procedure applies. Comments are welcome at the podium at any time. Thank you very much for coming forward tonight. And so I'll close public participation at this time. And I look forward to discussing about these items that you've brought forward at a future meeting. All right, members of council, we are going to move on then in our agenda this time to deputations and presentations. And we have a deputation from Baker Tilly, which is Jay Anstey is here. He wants to do a presentation about our audited financial statements. And so we're very grateful that Jay is here to represent Baker Tilly and his firm and speak to us about our financial statements. So I would invite you to the podium, Mr. Anstey, and welcome aboard. You might want to tip that microphone up a little bit. Let's just be fair. You're a little taller than some of the previous speakers, so it's good to have you here.
Thank you, Your Worship. Nothing
Nice
like
to see you.
clearing the room with the audited financial statement announcement, but happy to be here. Members of council, nice to see some new and familiar faces. As Mayor Measures has said, I'm here to present audited financial statements. You will see from the agenda package and the materials in today's agenda, it is for the 2020 and 2021 audited financial statements. Just to introduce myself, I'm Jay Anstey. I'm a partner with Baker Tilly. Our firm has been the external auditors of Clearview Township and the predecessor municipalities for over 50 years. I myself have been involved in the audit since I started with our firm and the predecessor firm since 2005, and the partner in charge since 2016 when I became a partner of the firm. So we have a long-standing history with the municipality and a deep understanding of the people, processes, and the activities of the municipality. If you go to the next slide, please. So the reason I am here tonight is to present the 2020 and 2021 audited financial statements. I'll begin with a bit of understanding about the audit process and why we're here. And council and this approval is actually one of the final steps of an audited financial statement and the audit process. If I look at the whole procedure, obviously council approves the annual budget that is put forth by management of the municipality. The staff carry out the activities of the municipality and maintain those financial records of all of the activities of the municipality. And then we come in and audit those financial records for the purpose of expressing an opinion on the financial statements. And that's an important point, that we are not forensic auditors. We're not here because there's suspicion of effort of fraud. It is a requirement under the Municipal Act that the financial statements are audited by an external auditor. Our audit is done on a test basis. It uses concepts of materiality, sampling, corroborating with third-party evidence, as well as analytical procedures where we are analyzing the numbers to make sure that they make sense in accordance with the budget and with what expectations are. It's done within generally accepted auditing standards, as well as GAAP, generally accepted accepted accounting principles, and specifically for municipalities, that's under public sector accounting standards. I mention this because the results of the financial statements will be in a different format, and there are differences between the internal accounting that you're presented with the annual budgets that council approves, and these audited financial statements. And I think tonight, for the financial portion of my presentation, I'll go over more of those concepts than the actual financial results, but I will obviously touch on the results as well. As I mentioned, we're presenting 2020 and 2021 financial statements, and these are of a past term of council. It was their budget, it was their activity of that council. It's not unusual in a year following an election. We're just working on 2022 audits right now, and we're presenting 2022 financial results to councils of other municipalities that they passed, the previous council passed the budget. Unfortunately, there were some delays in the 2020 and 2021 audits, which again is not unusual. There were delays in essentially all of our audits through 2020 and 2021. Auditing is not immune to COVID, and we had delays, and we had to learn to audit in a remote world. Staff were working remotely and hybrid, and it caused some delays. And we were actually almost done the 2020, or well, we were working on the 2021 audit and just wrapping up 2020. We thought we would present both to last council, but then there were further delays in the 2021 audit. So unfortunately, we're here a little bit behind schedule, but we are here tonight to get these approved, and we have a plan to start the 2022 audit in late August. And hopefully I will be back here within a couple months and presenting the results of the 2022 financial year as well. As the slide says, again, the audited financial statements are in draft form until approved tonight by council. Included in your agenda package is the audit reporting letter, and that discloses some requirements of, again, responsibilities of yourselves, of us as auditors, and the results of the audit. And again, those concepts of materiality and any issues found during the course of the audit. But I am happy to report that after all adjustments, and despite there being some unadjusted differences in that letter, we have prepared and management is presenting a clean, unqualified audit opinion, meaning the financial statements are free from material misstatement. We'll go to the next slide. So as a high-level financial review, and again, I'll talk more about concepts in these audited financial statements. I have some excerpts from the financial statements, but the full statements are attached to your agenda package. Starting with the consolidated statement of operations. So this is the operating activity for the 2021 and 2020 fiscal years, as well as the 2021 budget. Again, as I mentioned, there are differences between the statements and internal accounting and budgets that you may have been presented with. A good example of this is reserve transfers. So a transfer from reserves in internal accounting and the budget you may have passed is often considered revenue, whereas in these financial statements, they are not considered a source of revenue. It's just a use of a prior year surplus. It was a revenue of the past year, not spent and then carried forward. So something like that, you can't just go to the 2021 budget and compare it to these financial statements. Looking at operating revenue for the 2021 fiscal year, and operating revenue being your municipal portion of the taxation, user charges such as water, wastewater, arena revenues, library, government grants, and other sources of revenue. We see budget of 26 million in the 2021 fiscal year compared to actual revenue of $27.5 million. The difference, the $1.3 million year-over-year increase and $700,000 increase over budget is mainly related to municipal taxation, where in 2020, there weren't a lot of supplementary taxes issued because of the pause during COVID, and there was a lot of catch up for supplementary taxes for reassessed homes and property values. So we see about $1 million come through in the 2021 fiscal year. So that's the main reason that was over budget in 2021. When I look at operating expenses of $25.1 million compared to the budget of $24.2 million. Again, the same concept of reserve transfers applies, that transfers to reserves are not considered an expense in these financial statements where they would be in your budget. And there's one other expense that is a significant accounting estimate, is amortization expense. And that's the systematic depreciation of capital assets that we write off capital assets over their useful life. And that is $4.2 million of expense in the 2021 fiscal year. One thing there's an error on this slide, and actually in the financial statements, it says the budget on the financial statements doesn't include amortization expense. It actually has been factored in for the adjusted financial statements. So it's actually actual to budget. Is it true actual to budget? You don't have to make any adjustments here. There is no specific area that operating expenses are over budget, no specific department. All of them are over budget by about kind of the $50,000 to $200,000 range in the 2021 fiscal year, besides Parks and Recreation was actually below budget. And then looking at capital revenues are specific revenues that are recognized at the time that a capital asset is purchased or acquired. So there might be a government grant or a development charge collected and not spent, and the year that it is spent, it is recognized as revenue. So we see $5 million of capital revenues compared to a budget of $7.5 million. And those are always difficult to anticipate because it really is dependent on the timing of the capital project. Included in the budget in 2021 was this Stainer water project, a well on Klondike Park Road that wasn't as far along as anticipated. So the actual revenue didn't exactly line up with budget, but would be pushed into a future fiscal year. And that brings us down to our annual surplus of $7.3 million. And again, the majority of this is related to revenue that came in for capital purposes. $5 million of it is, and then $2.3 million is related to operations that would essentially be transferred into a reserve or included in accumulated surplus. Move to the next slide. Now looking at the financial position at the end of 2021, starting with financial assets, and a financial asset is simply cash or an asset that's expected to be converted into cash. We see $46.4 million of financial asset, a $9.2 million increase year over year in 2021. It's a considerable amount of financial assets and liquid assets as well, a considerable amount of cash. And a financial indicator, and you'll see on the presentation tonight some graphs that we're looking at for the standard financial indicators for a municipality compared to a provincial average of lower tier municipalities for 2021, and then a risk rating. So in this indicator, we're looking at the amount of cash compared to short-term liabilities, and there's enough cash to cover short-term liabilities 6 times over. You'd be considered low risk if you had only 50% amount of liabilities covered. So no liquidity risk is what we're looking at in the municipal position at the end of 2021. One thing to note, though, is note 4 does say there's $13 million of cash that is restricted in use, and I will refer to that on the liability side, and that's in the form of obligatory reserve funds. Next slide. Next slide is the obligatory reserve funds. And so obligatory reserve funds, a complex word for monies that have been received for a specific purpose and restricted in use by some external source or a specific act. You'll all be aware of development charges that are collected from developers as a new dwelling is constructed. And then they're earmarked by the Development Charges Act and the DC bylaw for specific uses. Similar to the gas tax allocation, that's now the Canada Community Building Fund. And the Building Code Act specifically says that monies collected for building code purpose or in the building department, any surpluses must be set aside for building department use. So overall, a $1.8 million net increase in obligatory reserve funds, so more collected than spent during the year. And DC's development charges make up the bulk of this at $8.7 million. There were $3.1 million of development charges collected through 2021 and $1 million used towards capital purposes. And the main ones included $300,000 towards Mowat Street realignment, as well as $500,000 on the Stainer Well project. One important thing to note is the balances here do not include any overdrawn DC's development charges. The municipality has had overdrawn development charges for the past number of years. But it is moving. The overdrawn amount has been decreasing over the past 3 years, and 3 years going back to 2021, I'm of course referring to. Throughout 2021, the overdrawn balance decreased by $300,000, meaning more development charges were collected for the Stainer sewer development charge balance, Creemore sewer, the fire development charge balance, and the administration balance. So they're moving in the right direction. And essentially what it meant was money was spent upfront before development happened, and now development's happening to catch up and replenish these obligatory reserve funds. In the meantime, you will see it when I get to the accumulated surplus. It's really borrowing from the town's reserves on a short-term basis to get development moving. Next slide. The next liability I want to go over is the long-term liabilities, and that's I think it speaks for itself. Debentures, loans that the municipality has taken on, $17.7 million of long-term debt at the end of 2021. There was $3.25 million of new debt taken on through 21, and that was for the Stainer Library. It had temporarily been financed in 2020 by reserves, but then that reserve was replenished as debt was taken on in 2021. There were $940,000 of principal repayment of long-term debt in 2021, as well as $505,000 of interest payments. So debt servicing of $1.4 million. And when we compare this to the municipality's own source revenue, so tax and user charges, debt costs represent 5.9% of the municipality's own revenue. Again, when we're looking at the risk rating here, you'll see that that does put us above the low risk rating, but it's still below the high risk rating. So we're considered a moderate risk rating in terms of debt servicing in the 2021 fiscal year. Next slide. Net financial assets, again, kind of flipping back to that financial assets and then comparing it to total liabilities. We're in a positive net financial asset position, meaning there is enough cash or items that can be converted to cash to cover all liabilities of the municipality. That includes long-term debt, which obviously won't be repaid in the next year or some in the next 20, 30 years. So a strong financial position when it comes to financial assets for the town is what this is indicating to us. And then finally, we have tangible capital assets, and it's an important concept. It's a pretty easy concept. It's physical assets that the municipality owns in order to carry out the operations of the town, the vehicles, the equipment, the buildings, land, and the infrastructure, the water, wastewater, roads and bridges. $133 million. So by far the largest item on the statement of financial position, as you would expect, is invested in tangible capital assets, and that's on the net book value. So the cost less that amortization that I was referring to previously. There were $10.3 million of acquisitions of tangible capital assets in 2021. $2.2 million on the 10th concession, $1.3 million on bridge on Centerline Road, includes $1 million of road works throughout the municipality, as well as $740,000 spent on Station 1 Park, among others. There's also disposals of tangible capital assets, and mostly those are when a road is resurfaced, repaved, then there's a related disposal of those assets. So $585,000 of disposal of assets. And then also a reduction of $4.1 million of amortization expense, and that's that systematic depreciation of them over their useful lives. When we're looking at the financial indicator here, we see that the amount of assets of the useful life that has been used of Clearview's assets on average is 31%. So it has about a 70%, just under 70% useful life remaining on average. Of course, important to drill down and look at subcategories and individual assets, but what it's telling us is on average, the assets aren't significantly aged in the township of Clearview. And then finally, accumulated surplus. And again, a very important concept to understand. It's the bottom line on the statement of financial position and statement of operations, and note 14 further describes it, but is one of the most commonly mistaken, that people assume that there's $139 million of cash that the municipality has in its bank account, and that is not at all the case. Again, the majority of it is invested in tangible capital assets, so those physical assets that the town maintains to provide its operations. The $117 million that you see here is the balance I just previously referred to, less the debt used to finance those assets. So that's what the amount that the municipality has invested of its own accumulated surpluses in tangible capital assets. Again, the overdrawn development charges, this is tracked within the accumulated surplus. So again, kind of it could be included as a reduction of a reserve, but instead we're tracking it through this accumulated surplus as a temporary measure that eventually they will be replenished. And then there is the general surplus, reserves, and reserve funds, and these are surpluses of past councils and management that have accumulated over the years that are set aside by council for specific purposes. Of course, the Treasury Department maintains the internal records where these reserves are broken down into more specific uses, but at a high level, the town does have enough reserves and reserve funds to cover 20% of its operating expenses, which is kind of a high level general earmark. But of course, it does get more complicated than that, that there is capital replenishment reserves and other indicators that should be looked at when you're looking at reserves. Good. Those are the highlights I wanted to go over, and hope it helps you understand the financial statements. Again, looking forward to getting caught up to the 2022 fiscal years to get us up to present, but happy to turn it back over to you, Your Worship.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Great work. I can see that there's a great deal of research and confirming and double confirming to give us this qualified statement that you've given us tonight. So thank you very much for that. Members of council may have questions. If I can, I'll go to them as well, as we have our deputy treasurer on board with us tonight, Ron Mather. Nice to have you join us here at the table. Members of council, do you have any questions? Looking straight over to Mr. Beelan. He's up first.
Thank you, Worship. I have a question about the accounts receivable. It's 6.5 million in 2021 versus 2.3 in 2020. Is there an explanation for that, or is it a concern, or?
Through Your Worship, it's a great question. Actually, the majority of that increase, $3.1 million, is actually related to work that was done on County Road 91 concession 10, that there was monies receivable from a developer that was contributing to that redevelopment. And we question that as well, but that money has since been collected currently in the current fiscal year. So there's no concern about the increase in or the collectability of that accounts receivable.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Marty. The Deputy Mayor, Van Stavern.
Thank you, Your Worship. Mr. Anstey, in regards, can you just comment, long-term debt, we're at 5.9%. If we go to greater than 10%, or can you comment on what ratio? We're always looking at potential financing. Where can we go? What can we do?
Yes, again, great question through Your Worship. The indicator that I was looking at is specifically related to the repayment terms and the debt servicing cost itself. There's also another indicator of the annual repayment limit on what you can go up to. That's approximately $6.1 million is the threshold in 2021. That's what the high end threshold would be. Now that's a municipal or a provincial requirement to stay under that. And if I would refer this back to the treasurer for a recommendation, but I mean, a general rule of thumb is you wouldn't want to go over 50% of that repayment limit before you start getting into some high risk areas. Because again, it's just related, you could spread the debt repayment over a longer term to keep that repayment limit low. But then that could mean taking on more debt than might be advisable.
Thank you. Second question, on slide 8, you use the term asset consumption ratio. Can you explain? That was sort of a sidebar to the slide itself.
Krista, can you find that?
I can speak to it in the meantime.
Sure, go ahead. Krista can dig it out, but go ahead, Jake.
And so that is specifically the assets we're referring to as tangible capital assets, and how much of the useful life that those assets, how much has been used of those assets. So if you buy a truck that you think is going to be used 10 years, on average, we're at 33 years out of the 10 years of a truck has been used up. Or of a building that's a 100-year building, we've used 30 years of a 100-year building. So that's just that on a very high level, how much of the tangible capital assets useful lives have been used over their estimated useful lives.
So do we have to be careful in that if the province at 40, low risk is at 50, are we using our assets too quickly? Should we be looking at reinvesting heavier in our assets then, is what you're alluding to?
You're well in the low risk range. So that's if you're below 50%, then you're in the low risk range. Like if you're above 75%, then you're at the high risk range. So the municipality is in a low risk range. I think it's a great question, and it's something that since tangible capital asset accounting has been brought into place, it's a very important issue. And what I would look more at is how much of a reserve has been set aside and been built up to be able to replace those capital assets. So that's more of an indicator of what I would say. This is a very high level look. Again, if you drill down and the municipality has these records on an asset by asset basis, that you can see that there's a road out there that 49 of the 50 years of its useful life have been used up. And that's what should be focused on being replaced at the detailed level, at the micro level, as opposed to this is a very high level look.
Does this also, with the vehicles, does that include leased vehicles? Because I know the township has entered into some agreements for leasing and the likes. We don't take that into consideration, or is that taken into consideration with these ratios?
So I believe that it's a newer leasing program that it's not actually captured in this financial year. I think that's newer. Once we get into those fiscal years, it will depend on the type of lease. Sometimes leases do end up as capital assets on the books of the municipality. Sometimes leases actually are just expensed as an operating cost. For that, I think you would want to look at the term of the lease and is the lease coming up for renewal, and then at that point you're looking at a renewed lease cost.
Thank you.
All right, good questions. And you'll have to stand by for that update when we get the 2022s, 2023s next year. So good point. All right, is any other members of council with any questions? Yes, no? Okay, well, thank you very much. I just want to acknowledge again the work that goes into putting these together. And I really deeply appreciate the effort that you and your team at Baker Tilly, as well as our team here at Clearview, our treasurer, our deputy treasurer, and all the financial team have worked on this to get these audited statements done. It's for the public, it's a very critical thing to get to this point, because then that it puts us into a situation where we can talk to Infrastructure Ontario about future loans by having this work done and having these statements up to date. So the 2021 numbers are really important for us as we move forward in 2023 and 2024. So thank you very much for that type of work. If you may, Jay, do you have anything else you want to add, or?
No, but I can echo those comments. I do really want to thank management and your Treasury Department. Again, it was a tough couple of years with COVID, like everything, yes. And staff turnover as well, and some new people stepping up and into new positions. So, and we did the best we could, and we're looking forward to continuing on.
Right on. Jay, I want to thank you for your presentation today, and again for the work of your team. I would ask you to just take a seat and don't leave, because I'm going to look to council and ask council if you're comfortable moving forward report FIN 010-2023 into the agenda at this time. Is council agreeable? We'll move that forward and we'll discuss it since we've got our team here right now. All right, Jay, thanks very much. You can just take a seat for a second while we get to this report, and if we need you, we might call you back up.
Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you very much. All right, so Madam Clerk, we'll just record that. We'll move forward the item report FIN 010-2023. It is the 2020 and 2021 audited financial statements. I'll read the recommendation, then I'll look for a mover and seconder, council. And then for reference, it's underneath item number 12 in our agenda. Recommendation says, be it resolved that the report FIN 010-2023, the 2020 and 2021 audited financial statements dated July 24, 2023 be received, and that council approves the 2020 and 2021 audited financial statements as presented. Can I have a mover and seconder? Deputy Mayor, and seconded by Mr. MacArthur. Thank you very much. Before I open it up for discussion, questions, or debate, I'd like to call upon the CAO, Mr. Ferguson. He did join us on Zoom. He's just back from a quick trip down to the East Coast and back. So, John, are you there? Yes, there you are, John. John, do you have any comments you want to speak about the FIRs?
Yeah, well, I met with the auditor, and just to confirm that financially we look good, 2020 and 21. Overall, the independent audit did test certain aspects, and it all came back looking fairly well. They're going to continue to work on the 2022 audit, which will help us in our applications with IO. And some of the questions that were asked today are very relevant questions to what we can do. We may actually have commitments on debt that may only be, for example, 1 year might be 5 or 10%. But IO wants to take a look at your
another lightning strike. There you go. All right, members of council, we'll carry on. Perhaps I can just put Mr. Mather on the spot. Is there anything you want to add to the report? I know it was prepared by the treasurer. Is there anything you want to add to that, Ron?
No, I'm fine with everything so far.
Okay, thank you very much. And again, thank you to your team. Members of council, do you have any questions for this report? No, seeing none. All right. Council, I'm prepared to call the motion. All those in favor? And that's a unanimous decision. Thank you very much. All right. That carries. And so again, Jay, I thank you and your team, and we'll look forward to working with you in the weeks ahead. Take care. Thank you. Have a good evening. All right. Members of council, we're going to move back on our agenda, and thank you for allowing us to move that forward. We're going to go to public meetings item number 6, which there are no public meetings. How about that? We're going to move to approval of the council minutes, which is item 7. There are 2, a special meeting and a regular council meeting. Be it resolved, the council of the township of Clearview hereby approve the minutes of the July 4th, 2023 special meeting and the June 10th, 2023 regular meeting as presented. Can I have was that June or July? Sorry, it should say July. Yes, July. It's just, I'm thinking it is.
Back in time.
We're going back in time. All right. Where's Marty McFly when you need him? Okay. The July 10th, 2023 regular meetings as presented. Can I have a mover and seconder? Mr. Walker, Ms. Deneen, thank you very much. Any questions on the approval? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that carries. Thank you. Business arising from the minutes. Anybody get anything from those minutes that they want to discuss? No. All right. Communications from the mayor. We're now at item number 9. So 9.1, I do have a small report coming out of our in-camera session today. And so I'll have a recommendation that I'll read. I'll look for a mover and seconder. It comes out of our closed session. Council, be it resolved that council of the township of Clearview hereby direct staff to act in accordance with the direction provided in closed session regarding the proposed property lease. Can I have a mover and seconder? Mr. Walker, seconded by Mr. Broderick. Thank you. Any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? That carries unanimous. Thank you very much. All right, that comes then. That's all we discussed in the in-camera portion. And so at this time, I have 9.2 and 9.3. And the first one at 9.2 is, yes, sorry. John has his hand up. Oh, Mr. Ferguson has rejoined us. I'll tell you what, before we go on, I'll go back to the CAO. I don't know, you probably didn't hear what I said, John, but just as you disappeared, I said, oh, another lightning strike. So there you go.
Yeah, my laptop just went dead right in front of me. I just wanted to confirm that IO, even though we may not have any borrowing on the books, they want to look at your future obligations in any event. So any of the road work or life cycle of bridges, et cetera, IO will be interested in knowing what our obligations are going forward and how we're going to pay for that. So as the auditor had mentioned today, all that information is very important to Infrastructure Ontario when you're making an application. But with that said, financially, the municipality is in good shape.
Thank you very much, John. I think we're getting the impression that we're doing really well here. So thank you to all of our staff and to all of our various committees that contribute to helping run this municipality. All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Ferguson. Council is at the communication from the mayor. We're at 9.2, which is the Ferrit. I wish I could pronounce it correctly. The Ferrite Simcoe Pride request for proclamation and flag raising. I have a recommendation here, and I'll read it, and then I'll look for a mover and seconder, if that's fine. Be it resolved that Council of the Township of Clearview who hereby support the request from the proclamation of Ferrit Simcoe Pride from July 24th to August the 6th, 2023, and that the intersex pride, progress, pride, and trans flag be raised in celebration of diversity to raise awareness and promote equality on July 25th at 2 p.m. at the Clearview Emergency Hub. All right, mover and seconder, please. Mr. Broderick, is there a seconder? Mr. Seconder, yes, the Phyllis Deneen. Thank you, Councillor Deneen. Sorry if I messed up the reading of this. There's a very good recommendation, and we certainly have done this before. I'm going to learn how to pronounce that word correctly. I'll commit that to you folks. All right, is there any questions? No? Seeing none, I'll call the motion. All those in favor? And that carries unanimous. Thank you very much. And I look forward to seeing members of council and members of our staff and members of our community join us tomorrow at the Clearview Emergency Hub for 2 p.m. to raise the Intersex Progress Pride and Trans flag at our community flagpole. Very good. Council, item 9.3 on Ontario Energy Notice of Customers of Enbridge Gas. Is there any questions on that one? No? Yeah. Oh, yes. Go ahead.
This question is, do we have anything to say about what this letter is?
Yes, we get too much charges from them, but they're raising the gas prices.
I see that. And I'm just saying, what impact by us complaining or talking about it will it have on our constituents?
What's your thought, sir?
Well, it's already a monopoly in this community as far as the service is concerned. And I mean, I don't know if this is going through government regulation to review it as well. I mean, we all know our costs have gone up and we can't stop that. There's no doubt about it. But what's considered reasonable, I don't know. So that's why I was hoping somebody could say to me, yes, that's a reasonable request, or it's an unreasonable request.
It is one of those difficult parts of being an Ontarian, is having to look at your gas bill and know you can't do anything about it. So does any of our staff have any comment about this presentation? I'm looking at you, Ron. It is a financial question, so I'm just wondering, is there anything you can comment on that?
Not a whole lot. Obviously we charge for water and sewer. We can control those charges or.
Correct.
I honestly, I'm not aware of any control that we have over gas charges that I'm aware of.
Yeah. Something to think about.
Yep.
I could just give everybody on council something to think about, and that is that the Enbridge Gas always has a booth at any of our conferences, and with AMO coming up, take an opportunity to stop and speak to them. That would be my recommendation for sure. Yes, go ahead, Phyllis.
Through your worship, maybe to Ron, how we have to pay an extra $7 for how many facilities? Like, how many facilities we're as customers of Enbridge are we going to end up with? Do you think it's $7, isn't it, per rate increase?
I think it's a service fee for
each
connection. Yeah.
Oh, no, it's only $2.74. But I was just wondering how many places we have like that we own that we'd have to pay that on.
How many connections do we have to gas?
Through your worship, to Councillor Deneen, that's a very good question.
I was just curious. I was glad we weren't Union South because it's $7.54 per customer.
That's something I will look into, though. I'll look into that. And
Curious.
I don't know that number off the top of my head. I'm sure Kelly probably would know that.
Yeah.
I will look into that.
Sorry.
It's a very good question.
Tell Kelly I've got a couple of questions from earlier. I'll talk to her then.
Okay.
Thanks.
Hey, Ron, how's that? We're putting you on the spot a couple of times. You're doing well. You're doing okay. Don't worry. It's all right. All right. Thank you. All right, council. There's nothing further on communications from the mayor. So we'll go to item number 10, county reports and information. There was no specific reports received from the county today, or that were received by our clerk's department. I'm not sure if there's anything you want to add, or you want to jump in there, Deputy Mayor?
No, it's just the releases that we've been receiving lately from county. They right now, as you're aware, we're not having county meetings in July, so there is not a specific ask or anything. We did announce yesterday the cooling center in Barrie that has come on. I mean, that doesn't give us a direct impact, but as the county is being proactive in some of that stuff, and they tell you that there's more people die from heat stress than there is from cold stress. So anyways, those are the things the county is looking at right now, but I won't say they're in summer recess, but that's a bit of our issues right now. I don't know, Doug, if there's anything else we saw that came through lately that most of you received the same notices that we received. Let's put it that way.
I can tell you this, the county forest that surrounds the museum grounds took a great hit from the windstorm. lost a lot of those red pines that are around actually one of the structures in the back of the museum had trees land right next to it, and they had to close some of those exhibits to get the cleanup done during that storm. So there was a little bit of damage in the area over there from the storm that we had on Thursday. So, but yeah, there's a great facility though. If you're looking for something to do with your
And I'll
family.
just add to that is, if you aren't aware, there was a tremendous endowment done by the Matthews family
Yep.
over the last several years. They will be doing a main retrofit to the Simcoe County Museum, and it will be part of, we renamed the Matthews Legacy or whatever. But there's going to be a major revitalization of the museum, including increase in facilities and ability for doing stuff. So
It's going to be terrific.
Yep.
All right, members of council, looking good. We're going to go to our ward reports now. Trying to remember which way I was going here. Yeah, I know. I think it's,
started there for the
Robert, we're going to go to you first. How's that? Mr. Walker.
Thank you, Worship. I really don't have anything. I was not able to partake in the tour due to some issues, but I just wanted to make a comment that tomorrow night, the Stainer Lions will be hosting their free barbecue at the pool, weather permitting, because we sponsored the swim there on Tuesday nights from 6:30 to 8:30.
Excellent. Thank you. Mr. Beelan.
Thank you, Your Worship. I attended the Walker Barbecue on July 14th. I got my first ride in an electric truck. It was
Cool.
really good barbecue.
Cool.
The Brentwood Hall meeting on July 18th. We're going to meet some more this next week to discuss the small halls events. I attended the Reinhardt tour on July 19th. I couldn't believe how big Reinhardt is, and it was a really good tour. Next, I'm going to report all the accidents in our area. At Centerline and 9, there was 2 accidents on the weekend of July 15th and 16th. There was another accident there, July 23rd. There was also an accident at the intersection of County Road 9 and 3-4. This was very personal for me. I was one of the first people on the scene, and I have to commend the fire department on a job well done. When I handed over the casualty to the fire department, I was able to witness them in action. They removed the driver's door literally in seconds, maybe 10 or 15 seconds. They had the driver's door off. They determined it was probably best to bring the casualty out the passenger side. Again, they were just seconds taking off the rear door. I'm estimating about 20 seconds and another 20 seconds to take off the front door. There was no wasted motions at all. They knew exactly what to do. They were able to cut the pillar out, I estimate probably in a minute and a half. It was something to watch, and it's nice to know we have such a well-trained fire department. That's all I have.
All right. Thank you very much. Well done. All right. Phyllis Deneen, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you very much, Your Worship. So just to mirror what Marty said, I too got to ride an electric truck for the first time.
Cool.
And it was really an interesting tour. And thank you to the Singer Brothers and company at Reinhardt's. That was very, very interesting and informative. And they've got a really great bunch of employees there too. And yesterday I had this distinct opportunity to help celebrate His Worship's 60th birthday. And I just wanted to make mention of that.
Thank you.
And we had a really great afternoon. Thanks. That's
Thank
it
you.
for
I
me.
was really glad that you and Kevin were there. Thank you very much for that. Thank you. Mr. Broderick.
Thank you, Your Worship. July 11th, attended the Clearview Chamber of Commerce executive meeting. On the 12th, I attended the initial meeting between the GNE folks and COA TV regarding parking control for the GNE. On the 13th, attended the Clearview's Music Market and Parket at Station Park. It was actually quite a moving night. Weather was good, and so was the band. July 14th, caught the tail end of Walker's Community Barbecue. And on the 19th, partook in the Reinhardt's Clearview Council tour of the plant. And yeah, it showcased some of the innovations that they've done. It was very impressive, and also some of the challenges as they move forward. July 22nd, partook in Stainer Kinsman's charity ATV Backroads Tour, guided by COA TV in support of cystic fibrosis. And our mayor, Doug Measures, and Simcoe Grey Member of Parliament, Terry Dowdle, and his wife Colleen joined us for the ride. The Stainer Kinsman raised almost $5,000 from this event for cystic fibrosis research. And I just wanted to thank and congratulate everyone who planned, supported, and partook in this great event. It was an awesome day. Yesterday, July 23rd, I rode with Discover Clearview staff and COA TV representatives while we were mapping out the route for this fall's Clearview Small Holes Backroads ATV rally, and then dropped in on our mayor's 60th birthday celebration. Tomorrow we have the Simcoe Pride's flag raising at 2 p.m. at the Emergency Hub in Stainer. And also on the 25th will be the Creemore BIA meeting. On the 27th, we're having a meeting concerning the bridge at the 6th line and 3031 between the Township Blue Mountain Snowdrifters and Central Ontario ATV Club. What else we got? Oh, on the 26th, we also have a special planning public meeting. And
Is that right? I think, is that on or is that canceled?
Is that canceled?
Canceled. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Just yeah, you had me worried because I was thinking, I looked at my calendar earlier and I don't think we had it. So
Okay, I missed that.
good stuff, John.
I would have showed up alone.
Okay.
Coming up on August the 2nd is the Meeting Main Street's presentation in Meaford.
That's right.
And on August 12th is the gathering of the classics event at the Edenvale Aerodrome, back in its full format. There'll be hundreds of classic cars, rare aircraft, motorcycles, and it promises to be a great event. Hope to see many people there.
You bet. Again, thank you also for dropping by the house, and Tracy was happy to see you and your wife drop by. It's good.
Our pleasure.
Excellent. Good to see you. Robert.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd just like to thank all my neighbors, as I want to call them, for coming out and speaking about our issues down at Centerline and County Road 9. Just like a month ago, my son actually was coming to my place and had a very close call there that shook him up. So I'm sure we can put our heads together later and at the next meeting and come up with some solutions for that. So we had a station on the green meeting. The station is moving along. Rentals are increasing all the time with COVID over, and it's a real positive vibe around the events there. I was disappointed that the Chamber of Commerce After 5 had to be canceled at Steer Enterprises last Thursday due to the weather, but I'm sure we can get that another night made for that. And once again, Sundays at the Village Green are going well, and I encourage everybody, if possible, because my favorite's coming this Sunday, the Mudmen, that are a Celtic pipe band, and it'll be a rocking good time. So hope as many people as possible can make it out. Thanks.
You betcha. The Mudmen are a terrific band. Good job. Deputy Mayor Van Stavert.
Thank you, Your Worship. First of all, I attended I'll talk about the Walker Tour. For those who did attend it, it was a phenomenal thing. And the nicest part I had was meeting with Geordie Walker. Your Worship got to speak on behalf also of the township. And we've got a really good relationship, and they appreciate what we do. Their door is open for business. I got a business card from one of their procurement people, and they said, Paul, if you want to talk to anybody, you just give us a call and we'll talk. I had the opportunity to introduce them to several of their neighbors who were, I won't say shy, but they got to meet them, and they're just down to earth people at Walker's. So that's really important. Similarly, what was said about Reinhardt's tour, if anybody ever gets a chance, and we encourage them to hold a public venue again, because it sure is amazing what that business does and the number of employees that they have in this community. So we had a great discussion with them. I'll speak for my wife. She attended the flower show in Creemore this weekend in gardens and really enjoyed it. There was four floral gardens for viewing, and her and her friend had a great time. Now, this Wednesday at 6 o'clock at the Crothers Park in Avening, we're having a meeting with the Friends of the Mad as well as the NVCA leadership. We had Fred Dodd speak to us recently or a few months ago at our meeting. He got just received award for his excellence in conservation work, and we have a new person who has taken over a lot of our conservation work in this area. So several people have mentioned to me about work in Creemore along the MAD. It could be a good time to come out and say, and I know it will not be a long meeting, but 6 o'clock Wednesday night at the Crothers Park in Avening. So with that, we will continue on with what's coming forward. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Paul. I look forward to that meeting at Crothers Park. Looks like my calendar will be available. I'll be able to attend and join you. So I look forward to that. Council, I only have a couple of quick things I want to mention. I know we have heard about Walker's. Walker's was an excellent tour. I had a really good meeting with Jordy and Ryan Wall, the new manager there, just prior to the event. We had a really good conversation. They're very good community-minded, socially community-minded people, and you can tell that they care very much about our community. Reinhardt's tour was fantastic. As you said, Councillor Deneen, the Singer family have a really good attitude and business sense about them. And it's a very good facility. They did mention on the tour, and I don't mind sharing it with you, is that they are going to be doing a little bit of work on their generator. A few months ago, we had issues with their generator noise. They said that they've got somebody working on the exhaust and cooling system on the generator itself to try to mitigate some of the noise that happens when it runs. So that is something that they've committed to do to address that. So that's really showing that they're good community-minded people. And so we're really happy that they're in our community. Boy, I had a lot of fun on the ATV tour. One of the things I said in my comments at the end of the session was that, I got to see places in Clearview Township I have never seen before because I was out on an ATV, and I was shocked and beautiful places we have. So I was very, very pleased to join the COATV club, and a very well organized event, very safe. And it was just a real eye opener for me to be on an ATV in our township. I mean, I have been on an ATV in our township in a parade, but I never actually ATV'd on any of our trails. And so that was quite impressive to see some of those places. I've lived here since 1977, and I had not seen some of these places. That was pretty neat. So I was really happy to be able to join them. Congratulations to the Kinsmen. Obviously, Kinsmen serve our community every day. They're available every day to help with our community. If the community is in need, they're the kind of club that's right there to help. And we appreciate them very much, as we appreciate all of our service clubs in our community. So for council's information, I did go to the CAO Mayor's Forum meeting in Meaford. It was recently held in Meaford. Mayor Ross Kentner hosted us over there in their library, which, by the way, is an absolutely beautiful library right in the downtown. I don't know if anybody's had a chance to go to the Meaford Library. It's pretty neat. We met there. We had a long discussion about many regional items that are of importance to our whole area. But I'm only going to share with you this. That's so we all know. Affordable housing is something that we're all talking about. Affordable housing is something we're all working on. And affordable housing is something that we are as a whole region understand that they're borderless issue. If there's an affordable housing operation in any of our communities, it will be successful for us as well, because people need to live in housing that they can afford. And whatever community gets a program like that, our community needs to be supportive of it, because it's a borderless issue. And the mayors and CAOs agreed wholeheartedly that this issue is not something that has borders. It is something that reaches across all of us in Central Ontario. And so, interestingly enough, we will be having a delegation as a group of us put together by the CAO from Great Highlands. We're going to be going to AMO conference, and we'll have a delegation with the Minister of Housing as the mayors and CAOs, which is quite nice. So to have that type of conversation. So I look forward to participating in that and reporting back to you on any of the activities that come out of that. So I do want to mention, I've got this amazing woman in my life named Tracy, and she pulled off a great little event, in First Lady of Clearview style. And it was a surprise to me. It's like everything else, I'm the last person to know, but it was a great event, and I appreciated the sentiment of people coming out to acknowledge that. But my birthday is actually on Friday, just so you know. So it was kind of interesting that it was held this past Sunday. So
we're not singing happy birthday again.
No. You did sing happy birthday to me, which would have been excellent if somebody had recorded it. But nevertheless, I appreciated you all being there. So thank you, folks. And thank you to my neighbors and friends for doing it. So there you go. That's all I have from my desk at this time, but I will move us along in our agenda if there's nothing further. I do want to take a quick opportunity, as we're just at this point of discussion, though. This point that's on the end of our agenda, where we're going to just acknowledge that we have a motion from Mr. Beelan. Given that we had some pretty good delegations, I'd like to take a moment at this point and just ask for a couple of quick questions to Mr. Perot, if I may, on your behalf and on behalf of the citizens. Mr. Perot, could you join us for a second? Danny? Hey, Dan, can you hear me? Hi, Dan.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, hi there, Dan. Listen, Dan, there's an awful lot of questions asking about these intersections in County Road 9. Is there anything that you and your department can do that, you don't need a direction of council? Is there anything that you can do? What's your suggestion that you can help us with this intersection problem?
Yeah, certainly, Your Worship. Maybe a couple of things that I can do as the road authority. And as council may be aware, I'm a big advocate for roadway painting. We started that really take hold of the roadway painting program a few years ago, and I'm seeking pricing right now to perhaps to make that intersection a bit more visual. Perhaps looking for pricing from our paint supplier, our paint contractor, to paint stop ahead right on the road, and paint stop at this close to the intersection to the stop sign on both ends of both roads. So it'll be the southbound leg and the northbound leg of Centerline Road, and similarly at 3-4 Side Road.
Okay.
Very, very cost-effective way to perhaps gauge or get people's attention when they come up to that intersection. And it's not, it may not be the final solution for that intersection, but it's something we could try on a trial basis, just to put something else there other than a roadway sign on the side of the road where people tend not to pay attention, but it's something visual on the road itself. I'm willing to try that, and I can absorb that cost into our maintenance budget. And secondly, as council is aware, it's a county controlled intersection, so perhaps I'll have a conversation with my counterpart at the county of Simcoe to see if that simple two-way stop tab can be placed under the stop sign, something to identify that it's a two-way stop, not a four-way stop. Some indication out there, some correspondence that I've seen that perhaps people are thinking it is a four-way stop, and that's why they'll travel through the intersection. So a couple of minor things, fairly cost effective, that could potentially be tried there to hopefully improve that intersection.
Yeah, Dan, the whole reason of asking you the question, obviously, is that I'm hoping that you as the road authority can bring forward some ideas and some, and you have the authority to make decisions on this issue outside of this desk. It's already been granted to you to do that. So that's why I'm hoping that that we support you as the road authority in those areas. And so I encourage you and your staff to do whatever you can. Thank you, Dan. Oh, I have some cards here. Marty, did you want to say, and then I saw that Paul was here too. Marty, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. Dan, I do have a few questions. I'm sure there's things that council could help you with these intersections. One being, if we were to lower the speed limit, you could, or approve that, you could lower the speed limit. I noticed today going to Cashtown, which was a high accident area, they've lowered the speed limit to 60, and it's only 400 meters from the stop sign where they've lowered the speed limit. You could do that, or does the MTO have to approve that, or the county doesn't have to approve us lowering the speed limit on like Center Line or 3-4, correct?
Through your worship, that is correct. If council wishes to, they could lower the speed limit on any of our township roads, but it would have to be the north leg and the south leg of Center Line Road. So we do not have the jurisdiction to lower the speed limit on County Road 9.
But we can lower the speed limit on our roads.
That's correct. Yeah.
And I'm probably going to ask at the next meeting when we discuss this for pricing on things like speed tables, and how much would it cost to rip up the pavement from County Road 9 to maybe concession 9 or concession 9 along Center Line. I'm probably going to ask for a price for that too. I think if it was gravel road, they wouldn't use it. My other concerns, I mean, this has been taking a lot of my time.
I see.
Just talking to different people. I've talked to OPP. When our friend from New Lowell here, Chuck, was in, he mentioned it's part of the the road that they send you down. If it was a gravel road, they wouldn't send it down there. But whatever they do there, then they'll just send them down 3-4. So we almost have to do the same thing to 3-4 as we do to Center Line. So I've got a multitude of different things that could be done. Most of them are up to the county, but I think there are a few things that we can be doing.
Yeah. Council and councillor, and for the council, I wasn't trying to open this up as a debate, but I'm just pointing it out that I wanted to make sure that Dan knew that this council supports him doing decisions on actions that he can do without having council direction. He can do those things underneath the authority of the road authority. But you're right about the speed limits. That would have to come back to us. So thank you for that. Paul, do you have something you want to say too?
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. Dan, a quick question. The comment today from the delegation that was here, they were talking about speed bumps, speed tables. We have a problem in Ontario with a thing called snow. So I recognize that when it comes to certain things, but I was in Europe till this past week and a half ago, and there's speed bumps there, and they do have snow there as well. Were 3 to 4 feet wide. In other words, you didn't just go over a bump, you went over a rise. Have we ever used those in Canada?
Dan, you got any experience with speed tables?
Through your worship, I do know that there are municipalities in Ontario that do use I'll call them more permanent paved speed bumps or speed tables.
Okay.
They are typically used in a rural an urban setting. So typically a lower speed residential type area where they're trying to slow traffic there, but I have not seen anything in a rural area where that's a collector type road that's moving vehicles. But
It was something I had never seen. And yes, I went over a few of them a little too fast. And I won't say I was airborne, but you sure feel it in the vehicle. It was a rental, so it didn't matter anyways.
Oh, yeah.
Anyways, but we'll talk about it more. Thanks, Dan.
Thank you. And thank you for my indulgence to speak to our staff. Thank you, Dan. Appreciate that, and appreciate you and all the work that the staff do. All right, members of council, we can move on in our agenda if there's nothing further there. All right, finishing up the old ward reports. Guess what? We're going to page 4. How about that? At least it's my page 4. I don't know what you guys have. Corporate health and safety policy. So this is an HR report. So I think this is something we have to do kind of semi-annually. I'll read the report, look for a mover and seconder, and then perhaps we'll get a comment from Tammy Gill, who's joining us. Council, be it resolved that report HR 003-2023, the corporate health and safety policy dated July 24, 2023, be received, and the council approve the corporate health and safety policy for 2023. Can I have a mover and seconder? Over here, Mr. Walker, seconder, Mr. Broderick. Thank you very much. Hey, Tammy.
Good evening, Your Worship.
How are you?
So thank you, members of council and your worship. This report is just brought forward annually. I do take the time to review the corporate health and safety policy to make sure we remain in compliance as a workplace for our staff. And so the report today is just to ask for your endorsement of the policy as the leaders of our corporation to let our staff know that you endorse our health and safety.
All right. Members of council, do you have any questions to Tammy, the staff, or any comments? All right. Thank you very much for your comment. Anything further? I'll call the motion. All those in favor? That carries unanimous. Thank you very much. Also under CIO and administration, we have the Clearview Township logo update. There's a recommendation here. I'll read it and then I'll look for a mover and seconder. Recommendation be resolved. The Council of the Township of Clearview hereby receive report CAO 003 2023, the Clearview Township logo update dated July 24th, 2023. And item 1, that council approve the additional logos as shown in Appendix A of this report, which inputs the text Clearview Township to the right of and below of the stylized C. And item 2, that the additional logos be added to the amendment to the township's branding design guidelines as an additional option for township use. And item 3, that future signage, letterhead, promotional items use the additional logos that refer to Clearview Township where applicable, with the understanding that there are other approved logo designs that staff may use for different projects. Okay, a mover and seconder on this. Mr. Broderick, seconded by Mr. Beelan. Thank you very much. Council, before you speak, I would like to just add one additional item, and that is that consider it an amendment to Appendix A. In Appendix A, the 2 items that show the graphics also show them in color. And so one of the colors is they say the word Clearview. They take clear and they put it in green, and they take view and they put it in blue. Okay. So when using the word Clearview Township, one other option is to use Clearview in blue and Township in green. It's entirely like you see on Marty's shirt tonight. So that option was not printed when Appendix A was written up. I had a discussion with the CAO and the clerk about that, and they asked that I bring it up tonight, that additional colorized use of the word Clearview Township, blue and green added to it. So that particular graphic wasn't produced. Council, can I consider that a friendly amendment?
Yes.
There you go. Okay. Now, is there any questions on this? No? Yes. Oh,
Yes,
Paul,
Your
go
Worship.
ahead.
In regards to covering that, it does say that there are other approved logo designs that the staff may use for different projects.
Yes.
Is this what we're referring to, or is this for something else?
No, the other ones that are actually in the design guideline right now that already exist, they are still valid and can be used. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Looking at our staff, that makes sense. Yes.
Well, I just hope we are proceeding to what the logos, the new logos. That's all I like the idea on. And I wanted to confirm that we do have control. I believe I read in the that we have the absolute rights to the use of this logo.
I believe that's absolute. Yes.
Okay. Then nobody else
John
can-
Ferguson's still on board. John, it is your report. Do you want to have any comments you want to throw in? I wasn't sure if you were still there. Sorry, I should have called you earlier.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, just the deputy's correct. We have the ability to use the logo based on the existing policy. We're only amending one section that allows us to add the word township. So as we move forward with our logos over time, when we replace the logos that just have Clearview, we'll be adding the word township to them. And we'll also add the color scheme that the mayor just spoke of. And in some cases, these are used in black and white, depending on they're used in certain locations, or just the C is used on certain letterhead that recreation may use. But overall, there's a variety of approaches that we do use now. We'll continue to use them, but we will add the word township going forward.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. There's nothing further from council. Nothing further from any staff. I know that they've looked at it. Terry, your department uses it a lot, so you're understood. Thank you. All right. Council, I'm prepared to call the motion. All those in favor? And unanimous. Thank you very much. And thank you for your work on that. All right, council, we're going to go to the fire department, emergency services. We've got a report here about the lease. Recommendation, be it resolved that Council of the Township of Clearview hereby one, receive report FD 005-2023, the Nottawa Fire Station 6 lease amending agreement dated July 24, 2023. And item 2, that council approve entering into a lease amending agreement with the Simcoe County District School Board for continued use of the premises municipally known as 95 Bateau Road, and to allow for the construction of an addition to the Nottawa Fire Station, Clearview Fire and Emergency Services Station 6. Okay, a mover and seconder, Ms. Deneen, seconded by Mr. MacArthur. I thank you. Any questions? I know the chief is here. Chief, you got any comments you want to add? Simple lease agreement?
Yeah, your worship, will just highlight that we're not committing to anything with this agreement. It's just setting this up to put us in a position to do the renovation in the future whenever we're ready for that.
Okay.
That report will come to council later this year.
All right. Thank you very much. All right. Members of council, any questions? All right. Pretty straightforward. I'll call the motion. All those in favor? And that carries unanimous. Thank you. All right. We got the Committee of Adjustment July report. Our recommendation be it resolved that the report PB 058-2023 dated July 24, 2023 be received. Mover and seconder, Mr. Deputy Mayor and Mr. Broderick. Thank you. Any questions on the Committee of Adjustment report? Seeing none, I'll call the motion. All those in favor? That carries unanimous. Thank you. Moving on, we've got our draft plan subdivision extension, Estates of Clearview. Okay, council, recommendation be it resolved that Council of the Township of Clearview hereby one, receive report PB 061-2023, the draft plan of subdivision extension dated July 24, 2023. And item 2, approves the extension of the Estates of Clearview draft plan of subdivision being file number 2004-011 SD, municipally known as 6934 and 7044 Highway 26 Stainer, and legally described as part of Lot 25 Concession 1, formerly Nottawasaga, now in the Township of Clearview, for an additional 5-year period, with the new lapse date being August 2028. And item 3, approves an amendment to the existing draft plan conditions as outlined in Schedule E of Staff Report PB 061-2023, and that notice be given in accordance with the Planning Act. I'll take a mover and seconder on that. Mr. Walker, seconded by Mr. Broderick. Thank you. Amy, anything you want to add? It's your department.
Thank you, Your Worship. Nothing specific to add. A great deal of work went into this report to ensure the integrity of the draft plan would continue with the 5-year extension. Nick is available as well to answer any technical
Oh, there he is. Hi, Nick.
that council may have. So.
All right. Nick, do you want to add anything else?
There's not too much to add, but just as a brief overview, I'd just like to indicate that we did receive the request from the applicants to extend the existing draft plan approval for a 5-year period. As a part of that request, we did circulate out to internal departments and external agencies, and based on that circulation, our review, we're confident that we're recommending that it should be extended for additional 5-year period with the changes as outlined in Schedule E of the recommendation report. So again, I'm happy to answer any questions that might come up, but hopefully that was a small overview for you.
All right. Well done. Any questions from the members? Paul, go ahead.
Thank you, Nick. I'm understanding that this is an ongoing project. It is being built out as we speak. They've just run out of time on their initial agreement. Is that correct?
Yeah, so through your worship. Yeah, so basically the original draft plan approval was granted in 2010 through decision OMB. It was extended 2 previous times, so in 2015 and as well as again 2018. So it currently lapses on August 16th, 2023, and they're asking for additional extension. So this is a fairly large subdivision, as I believe it's about 994 residential units that are proposed. So the applicants have proceeded with the first 2 phases, which was, I believe, 192 single attached units, as well as the Jarlett's long-term care facility block. So they are building it out slowly, but just due to the nature of the size of the property, it does take several years to go forward. And again, there's other considerations such as, external improvements that are required, as well as municipal servicing and those type of items. So based on those considerations, staff are recommending that it again be extended for additional 5-year period to give the developers additional time to proceed with, further phases.
And they do have, Nick, and that's what I understand when I read the report, basically. They are included in our servicing agreements right now. They have enough services for what they're doing, but they will stretch it out for 5 years. Give us some time.
Yeah, so basically their last phase 2 was 118 units. So they had work municipality and prepaid those units. So they are fully built out now. So any additional development would be contingent on additional servicing capacity. So that's why the additional time would be granted to allow that to be resolved in the near term. And then once the capacity would come online, they'd be able to proceed with their further phases.
Thank you.
Key there is we need the capacity to continue moving, which is so connected to many, many things. Okay. Any other questions to our staff, members of council? Seeing none. Thank you very much, staff. I'm prepared to call the motion. All those in favor? And thank you. That's unanimous. All right. Over to legislative services. No, sorry. Natural heritage first. Sorry. We got one more. I just skipped by it. Recommendation, be it resolved that report PB 062/2023 from the Director of Planning and Building regarding the natural heritage policies of the proposed provincial planning statement 2023 dated July 24th, 2023 be received. Okay. Is there a mover and seconder on this recommendation? Mr. Broderick again, Mr. MacArthur. Thank you. Hello there, Ms. Can. Do you have anything else you want to add, Amy?
Thank you, Your Worship. Council will remember the presentation I gave on the first rollout of the proposed PPS policy, which had substantial changes to how we treat agricultural lands in this province, for example. At that time, these natural heritage policies weren't included in that proposed wording. So that wording has been released, and I'm happy to report I have nothing to report because they're the same as the original existing PPS.
Okay. Well done. Members of council, anything? Do you have any questions? All right. Thank you very much, Amy. I'm prepared to call the motion. All those in favor? That carries unanimous. Thank you. Now over to legislative services. We've got a report here that was put together by once again, our team. We have our clerk's department and our planning and building department participating in creating a report, which is something that I think is significant when two departments work together to create a good report. So I'll read the recommendation and perhaps I'll get comments from some of the authors. Be it resolved, the Council of the Township of Clearview hereby one, receive report LS 020/2023 Affordable Housing Committee feasibility dated July 24, 2023. And item 2, that council supports waiting until the completion of the strategic plan and the official plan processes to better assess what attainable goals an affordable housing committee could potentially be tasked with and the committee's feasibility. All right, a mover and seconder. Deneen, thank you. Seconded by Broderick, thank you. All right, if I can go to our clerk, who is a big part of this, as well as Amy was also participating. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Worship, through you to the rest of council. So yes, I would like to thank Amy Can and Rosalind Workman for providing their planning tools into this report, because it's really key that we demonstrate to the public and council that although it might not be at the forefront of every council meeting, staff and council are working in the background at different goals in regarding to affordable housing, being a part of regional committees and county committees, and using tools within our toolbox for planning affordable housing to look at ways that we can entice people to use those tools to bring those projects to fruition here in Clearview. So I don't know if Amy or Rosalind have anything else they want to add.
We'll start with Rosalind. Hey, Rosalind, do you have anything you want to add to the work on this report and any content that needs clarification?
Well, I don't think so, other than I'm just really was happy to be a part of the report. I think it's a really worthy cause, and we know that we're all trying hard to fulfill the need that's out there. And I think that we will get there at some point. So I think that's what this report kind of says, is just hold on and wait till we get our tools in place, and then we'll be ready to rock and roll. So other than that, I'm here to answer any questions as well.
All right. Well, thank you very much. And I'll leave Amy for any questions. Members of council, do you have any questions to our staff on this report? Yes, go ahead, Paul.
Thank you, Worship. Amy, just a quick question. One, like a couple things that came in our election, we'll call it, affordable housing, the climate action. Do you think it's something, and I agree with your comments, if we will address a lot of our issues with our planning, our policy we're doing, will we be, have we identified that we're going to establish a committee based on people outside our community, outside our staff? Should we be looking at possibly establishing that committee now so they can participate going forward? Because it's something that we're getting, you know, we're hearing these comments and so much of the stuff we do now about affordable housing. You know, if people can start pulling together ideas, or people can start pulling together, you know, give us direction in our planning future, maybe we should be looking at it, you know, going forward more, we'll say sooner.
Okay. Amy, do you have any thoughts?
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, and through you, your worship. Yes, I think that it is possible, certainly, to establish a committee sooner. However, I think that we're through the strategic plan, public consultation, through the official plan review, public consultation. I think that we are drawing this commentary out of the community. As Madam Clerk noted, this is at the forefront of the public mind. And certainly, I think similar to natural heritage issues, this is an issue that crosses boundaries. And so if we can get clarity on our policy framework through public consultation and get some goals and objectives in place, I wonder if partnering with our county Simcoe, other lower tiers will help us really get at those cross jurisdictional boundaries and maybe find some efficiencies in solving this problem.
And that sounds reasonable. So what you're sort of saying is we're going to, we'll say, come out of the box with our policies first, establish our policies. I just want to make sure we do not lose sight of this, because this is very critical to our community. And I think it's something that if we were to say it's going to take another 8 or 9 months, we're not going to get positive feedback on it. I think it's something that we should be addressing within the next, before the end of the year.
For sure.
And as long as we have to keep that in mind, that we maybe proceed at that time, because it's so important right now with what we're starting to see in the community.
Excellent. Thank you very much. I'm going to go to the clerk next, but I just want to give John Ferguson a heads up. I'm going to come to him next too. Madam Clerk, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you to Deputy Mayor Van Staveren. I just also want to kind of reiterate to Council that a traditional committee may not be the only way to get public engagement. It was great that the Ministerial Association came to public participation, and I think that type of engagement is good as well during our strategic plan process and through official plan process, and even people writing emails to Council. It's good to get feedback, and there might be some creative suggestions out there. And Council may choose at the end of these processes that this is a key issue that Council wants to directly work with, and maybe not a traditional committee structure is not what you're looking for. There's nothing wrong with that, but there'll be other opportunities for public engagement. So I just want to reiterate, you just don't have to have a committee to have public engagement. There could be other opportunities where you guys engage the public, and that could even be a survey or going out into the public at different events, community events, such as the farmers markets or Small Halls Festival.
Mr. Ferguson, I have a question for you. If you could just jump back in there. Hope he's there. Yeah, there he is. John, you've been working with our consultant on the strategic plan, and I know we've got some of the official plan work already started. But can you just give us an idea what you feel is when the completion date would be of that strat plan work? I think we talked about our survey wrapping up in August, and then we get a report from our commission or our consultant. John, go ahead.
That's correct. So the final survey results are supposed to be finished up by the end of August, and then they're going to be submitting a report based on all the information that they received with, I guess, an array of priorities, and that will be brought to Council in workshop format for Council to pick which priorities that they want. Once they establish those priorities, they'll be sent to the administration, and we'll identify the initiatives that will go with each priority, also for Council's approval. And then we'll monitor that as we go forward. So this is about creating the priorities and then operationalizing the priorities. And so there's been a lot of information gathered. I've been monitoring the surveys. They were near 400 on Friday, I believe, and they may well have exceeded that by this week.
Well, thank you very much. Well, we all look forward to that process coming to an end, but we do have a whole month of August ahead of us. So, for the public, please fill out the surveys. Please give us your information and your content and your suggestions on the future of Clearview Township. And that strat plan survey does have questions in there about affordable housing. So please fill out the form. That's my little PSA. Okay, members of council, is there any other questions you have from I guess we got all 4 staff members involved in this one now. Anybody else? All right. Well, I want to thank all the staff for working on this. And as I said before, I think it's very encouraging that we see reports coming in that are cooperative across senior manager roles. So thank you very much for working on that together. If there's nothing further, I'm prepared to call the motion. All those in favor? That carries unanimous. Thank you very much. Just as one more item, I'll thank the Ministerial Association for their delegation and their passion towards this. And we look forward to working with them as we move forward. All right, council, we're now going to move to our bylaws. So we're on page 6 on my agenda. We're at bylaw 2367. This is the lease amending agreement for the Ottawa Fire Hall that we spoke about a minute ago. Recommendation be it resolved, the bylaw 2367 being a bylaw to authorize entering into a lease amending agreement with the Simcoe County District School Board for land located at 95 Batta Road, be presented to read a first, second, and third time finally passed on the 24th day of July, 2023. Can I have a mover and seconder? Ms. Deneen. Can I have a seconder? Mr. Walker. Council, you've heard the bylaw. I'm prepared to call it. All those in favor? And the bylaw carries. Thank you. Council, at item 13, there is a notice of motion. It's been talked about now 3 times in our council meeting tonight. This will be brought to the table on August the 14th council meeting, which is a regular council meeting. And I look forward to that being presented. Thank you, Councillor Beelan, for bringing it forward. So we'll deal with that then. If there's nothing else underneath new business, then I'll move right to our bylaw to confirm the proceedings of this council meeting. Yes, sir. Do you have a question?
Can I still talk about my motion or no?
You can talk briefly. Again, it's being presented officially at the next meeting, but
true. But since I put that motion in, I mean, I've spent a lot of time on this, and I have talked to various members of the OPP, and I'm still trying to get information from the county as to whether they have information on whether people are not stopping and getting hit or whether they're stopping and then taking off. It's difficult to get information from the county. I know this past accident that I was at 3-4, that guy did not stop. There was an eyewitness, sailed right through. So was he not aware of the stop sign? Probably not. Did he fall asleep? Did he have brake failure? We don't know. It'd be nice to get that information. The members of the OPP told me they felt the ones at Centerline and 9 were actually stopping and then taking off without looking properly. And they said that's why traffic lights would work. And they have data to prove it, because people will not go through a red light. They'll wait for it to turn green. But if it's just a stop sign, they take a quick look, boom, they go. As far as driver behavior, they're trying to change it. It only works while the police are there. And we've asked for more police presence.
Yep.
They can't give it to us. So I'm frustrated with this. They also told me, the police told me that lowering the speed limit and putting up a speed table would probably be more effective than a rumble strip. If people are aware that the stop sign's there, it slows them down and gets them cautious again. The point I'm trying to make is, do people know there's a stop sign? They're not aware of it, or do they know it's a stop sign and there's too big a hurry and they go? So a lot of frustrating things with this, and I probably will be adding an amendment to my notice of motion.
All right. Well, thank you. I'm just going to quote the Clearview Fire Department Station 4 sign. It has a very good sign right now. They know the firefighters often put notices up there. It says, pro tip, stop means stop. Pretty simple. Okay, I look forward to that discussion, and I'm sure our staff will have lots of information for you, Marty. Council, I got the bylaw to confirm our proceedings. It says a recommendation be it resolved, bylaw 2368, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the July 24th, 2023 council meeting. The be presented and read a first, second, and third time and finally passed on the 24th day of July, 2023. Can I have that moved by Mr. Broderick, seconded by Mr. MacArthur? Council, you got the bylaw. I'm prepared to call it. All those in favor? That carries. Thank you. Council, the motion to adjourn. Madam Clerk, what's the time? 7:24. All right. Be it resolved, council be adjourned at 7:24. Deputy Mayor, thank you. Mr. Walker, thank you. All those in favor? Thank you. That carries. Council, I hope to see you all on Thursday. I won't be here on Thursday. I wish I could. Music Market and Parket. You know, we want to make sure that it's a successful event. I'm going to see you all on Wednesday in our big tour, but I'm not going to be at Music Market and Parket this year.
This week.
This week. Yes. All the best.
We can handle it with.
Good night.